Do we owe them an apology?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like,
we owe them such an apology.
Yeah.
Jake Guentzel scored in his 7th straight game last night. He has 9 goals in his last 7 games. He has the most points by a UFA this season. He's got 33 points on the season. The only person, or second, is Jake DeBrusk. So great returns there for Jake Guentzel. Sean, could you throw up this comparison? Steven Stamkos versus Jake Guentzel, because this was a big topic this offseason of they chose to let their captain go and they prioritized a different wing because Stamkos kind of is a wing at this point in his career. And look at it there. Stamkos 34 got 4 times $8 million in Nashville. They gave Guentzel 7 times $9 million in Tampa. And to this point, 33 points for Jake Guentzel, 18 points for Steven Stamkos. Obviously, things have not been going great in Nashville. See the standings. But things, man, like 18 goals for Guentzel, 15 assists, 33 points. This has been an awesome get for them. And in fairness, Pete, we were critical and questioning of the Lightning with what they did this offseason. We didn't really have a problem with Guentzel. We thought they're going to have an absolutely sick first line.
Yeah.
What's going to be the rest of the team? But so far, the Stamkos out, Guentzel in, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like slam dunk.
Yeah. I mean, like, you kind of nailed it there. Like, the problem wasn't Jake Guentzel. The problem was the roster construction. You're paying the 3rd best player on your top line $9 million per year, which is an insane thing to do. But, like, Jake Guentzel is probably the 3rd best player on his line in the entire National Hockey League, if that makes any sense, if we're keeping track of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at $9 million for 7 years, I didn't love it. I don't like building teams through the wing. Like, I don't know if, like, we're going to get to the pulling the receipts thing, right? But, like, the problem was, in my mind, they weren't strong enough down the middle. They weren't strong enough depth-wise, and they were only getting older. Like, I guess that's not true if you're replacing Steven Stamkos with a younger player. But I don't know. Like, I'm still a little stunned that this is working so well for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And no shame in making a lot of money or being a high-profile player when you are the worst player on your line. At some point, either Patrice Bergeron or David Pastrnak was the worst player on their line. And you know what? Things were just dandy as long as you have the depth to produce when those guys aren't on the ice. And we questioned that. We questioned a lot about this team. We will pull the receipts on ourselves to ask whether or not we've kind of chunked it on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Before we do that, I do want to acknowledge somebody in the chat says Ryan McDonagh has been unreal. And I don't think that any of us saw that coming, like, being so important. And I think that, I forget who we were talking to. Maybe it was Merrick, who was like, how much do the Nashville Predators miss Ryan McDonagh?
Oh, yes, it was Merrick.
And it's a really good point. And I never really considered how important Ryan McDonagh was to Nashville and now Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, bring Ryan McDonagh back. We hit on so many things. And granted, if you watch the full preview, we didn't pillory them. You kind of pilloried them. I didn't. I was just more questioning why. What's actually going to happen here? I was the only person who liked the Lightning last year, who didn't care that they were top heavy, because ultimately the end result in the regular season, I should say, was like they scored goals, they suppressed goals, and like special teams were good. They kind of hit all the basic metrics. Cool, that's fine. Cup winner, didn't think they were going to be that, but I thought
beating the Panthers.
What's that?
You had them beating the Panthers.
I had them beating the Panthers. I thought the shakeup was a little too shaky this offseason, but here is just like 40 seconds of our preview. Why the fuck did you have this offseason, you weird Tampa Bay Lightning? Why did you do this?
I really like Anthony Cirelli as a player. Really, really like him.
Second line center?
Not as my second line center. Him being your second line center, I just don't know if he's got the offensive upside to warrant it.
After losing Steven Stamkos, do we do a window check with these guys?
I'll change it from a window to a sliding door. They're either going to run straight into the house, which the house is the playoffs, or hit glass. And maybe they sneak in banged up, or maybe they end up still on the outside and bloodied.
Okay, Anthony Cirelli we've talked about Anthony Cirelli this season. Has it?
Point per game player.
Well,
just below
27 points in 28 games. If he were a point per game player, he would join 1,000 other players on the Tampa Bay Lightning because they've got, let's see, Nikita Kucherov, 47 points in 27 games. Wasn't a question. Braden Point, 37 points in 25 games. Wasn't a question. Brandon Hagel, 36 points in 29 games. Jake Guentzel, 33 points in 29 games. Anthony Cirelli, 27 in 28. And even that, like Victor Hedman, we questioned too. We said, at what point does Father Time start to sneak up on him? Maybe not this year. How about definitely not this year? 25 points in 27 games. I mean, a lot of guys having really, really good seasons. Connor Geekie is, I would say, not killing it, but Connor Geekie is part of this. He kind of has to be after the Sergachev trade. They are on pace to finish second or third in the Atlantic, which is great because I think that we had them bubble-ish.
Yeah.
Although you did know, you said there's some scenario in which
they could just run into the house.
They and just run into the house, which I love that phrasing. I love looking at it that way. They are so much better. They have the second best goal differential in the Eastern Conference. The only team better than them in that regard is the perfect Washington Capitals. So if you want to question that stat, explain why the Capitals have such a cool number there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be a very top-heavy team, you may as well have the best line in hockey and like a really good second line. Like, shout out to Anthony Cirelli. Apologies for doubting you and what you could bring offensively, but I've been highly impressed by what he's surprised me with this season.
Do we owe them an apology?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like,
we owe them such an apology.
Yeah.
I think there are two teams about which we and maybe many were kind of flippant. I think
Lightning fans were pissed that they disrespected Steven Stamkos, let him walk out the door. They've been pretty quiet. I think that they were sort of not on our side, but like they understood where maybe there was a way to look at this and be like, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. But when it works out and when the returns are as good as they are, or they have been with Guentzel on that top line, you say, okay, I apologize. I was wrong. Puck.
Cut for time, because I just think we had more interesting things in that little clip, was me saying, I'm putting a heart future on Steven Stamkos. I don't know how big a heart future I'm putting on him, but there is a small chance that he is just going to go so scorched earth that, yes, he's able to put up otherworldly numbers. He hasn't. I hope you have not watched the show to this point and are just turning it on and don't see how much he hasn't. But also, like, Guentzel has been awesome. So when his numbers are next to Stamkos's, it looks a little uglier.
Final point here, I still don't believe in them as a playoff team. Like, I still, unless Andrei Vasilevsky turns it on and is like an all generational goaltender heading into the playoffs, I'm still going to have major concerns about their depth and kind of what they bring down the middle. And, like, I don't know, like maybe their age on defense.
We all silly like the mayor.